Time for markets now, and in place of our usual market interview, we're speaking with several analysts to find out what they're watching as we head into the end of 2020. We'll also look ahead to 2021. For Iowa State University Extension economist Chad Hart, international relations and how President-elect Joe Biden handles trade with China will be important in setting the tone with a new administration.
I'm definitely watching, like say, the trade picture, the export picture. Because as we look right now, that has been the storyline of the past, especially 3 months. And a lot of that is linked with China. And so I think as we look at going into 2021, especially if we do have a new administration in the White House, trade will become forefront in terms of agriculture throughout 2021, and especially how we move forward with China. I think, we have this phase 1 deal. Right now, the sales we're seeing are very supportive of saying, hey, that phase 1 deal is at least creating business for us right now. But the question really becomes, what does phase 2 look like, and how is agriculture a part of that mix? When I'm looking here, and especially thinking about the players here, I see phase 2 really concentrating on removing some of those tariffs that had been building up over the past couple of years that will hopefully foster even more growth in our agricultural trade.
Moving over to cattle, 2020 was a year of price volatility and adapting on the fly. That was especially true with meat processing plant disruptions in the spring due to the coronavirus outbreak. Months later, the plant disruptions are in the rearview mirror, but concerns remain with COVID numbers increasing in many rural areas. Here's Mississippi State University livestock economist Josh Maples.
Yeah, there's obviously still a concern, but I do think that we're certainly better prepared now to avoid those massive disruptions from the spring that you mentioned. Packing plants have testing protocols in place and a lot of other protocols. A lot of effort has been put in place to try to minimize the risk of those widespread disruptions again. And I think that I feel like we're certainly better prepared to hopefully avoid those really massive disruptions we saw earlier, and to help prevent some of those outbreaks that we saw in the packing plants. So concerning, Troy, is a good way to put it, but I do believe that we're in a better shape to hopefully not see the level of disruption that we saw in the spring.
Oklahoma State University livestock specialist Daryl Peel adds that pandemic concerns won't be around forever and hopes producers can spend next year in a more stable environment.
As we look ahead to 2021, we're going to continue with the situation coming out of 2020. It's not going to change immediately going into 2021. We certainly hope as we move through the year that we'll see some things in terms of the broader public health issues and so on settle down a little bit. But, again, from a cattle industry perspective, we're cautiously optimistic that we can see a modest increase in prices based on tighter supply fundamentals. It all hinges really on demand, and there's a lot of things that could affect that demand negatively, but assuming that doesn't happen, we're in a position to see a little bit more stability and a little bit stronger prices in 2021.
Finally, the dairy industry came into 2020 with high hopes, but reality soon set in after the pandemic forced the closures of schools and restaurants. Some farmers even had to dump milk they couldn't sell. Nebraska Extension dairy educator Kim Clark explains how we got here and what's ahead.
End of 2019 going into 2020, this year looked phenomenal for the dairy industry. We saw an increase in milk prices, a projection of an increase in milk prices that were really going to benefit the industry. And then COVID hit. So very quickly we saw the milk industry, the prices dropped again. So then that caused concern for the whole industry and farmers. Once the shutdown happened, restaurants closed down, schools closed down. So then the different processors that were using the milk, since they shut down, we didn't have a place for the milk to go. And so that really impacted the dairy industry. So then producers were left needing to dump milk. So whether it went into their lagoon system, whether they fed it to their calves or other animals, Spreading it on the field was an option. They were really trying to be economic and determine how can I use this milk rather than watching my hard-earned dollars go down the drain. So producers did a great job of stepping in and saying, how can I use my milk? But then at the same time, we also had other producers say, really evaluate their operations to determine, am I on the right path? Do I need to decrease my herd size? Is now the time I've been thinking about selling out? Is now the time that I need to sell out? So very quickly we saw some changes within the dairy industry. But now 6 months later, we're starting to see milk prices come back around. The industry overall kind of leveled out. And so hopefully we're back to what would be normal operating conditions at this point.